Before you know it, the 2026 season will be here. I know we're in February right now, but trust me, you will blink and it'll be time for kickoff. And guess what? I think we're going to have a bit of a controversy on our hands at the quarterback position, and it could get quite interesting. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But first, welcome to the channel. If you love Clemson football and you're watching it in February, you love Clemson football. You'd have to, or you're just absolutely bored. You're on the can, and for some reason you ran across this video. Even if that's the case, I hope you'll subscribe. It is free, and I do appreciate you supporting the channel. Now, signing day wrapped up. The transfer portal, basically with Clemson, has wrapped up. They brought in a bunch of defensive players and one running back. And we know that Cade Klubnik is done. There's some of you who's like happy. There are some of you who's, if you're kind of like me, I feel bad for Cade. I feel bad, but it's done, right? Everything's done there. So we know that Christopher Vizzina will get the nod. This guy's been at Clemson for 3 years. He's a former 4-star coming out of Birmingham, Alabama. Now, this guy, just to remind you, as I said, he's been there for what, 3 years? He's a redshirt sophomore, I believe it is. This guy's 6'4", 210, 215-ish. And he's been biding his time. And we all knew that he would take over for Cade. And then something happened towards the end of last season. Clemson, with about 4.5 to 5 minutes left, puts Chris Denson. Now, this is a left-handed mobile quarterback that they signed at the last second when Blake Hebert decided to decommit from Clemson and sign with someone else after he'd been committed for a while. They offered Chris Denson. He was committed to Coastal Carolina, and he ended up signing with us. Now, the guy's about 6'2". Clemson has him listed at 195 pounds. Maybe he is. Maybe he is. But the guy's a lefty. But they put him in the game, and I'm going to tell you, in those last 4.5 or 5 minutes, the guy rushed for a bunch of yards. He showed some explosiveness. Everyone was excited, and they scored quickly. And at that moment, chaos ensued. Now, for some of you, you may think I'm exaggerating, but I'm telling you, if you get on Instagram and you look at any site that is associated with Clemson football, I'm not talking about the official Clemson Instagram. You'll see it on there in the comments section. But if you go to any post that is about Clemson from a college football based Instagram page, and they talk about Clemson, I am telling you straight up, if you go to the comment section, you're going to see people who has put like a GIF up of Chris Denson. And it is everywhere. And I am blown away by how much I have seen this young man in comment sections since that Furman game. Now, you could say that it's some people just having some fun. Sure. Of course, it's football. You're supposed to have fun. Maybe it's someone in his inner circle who's doing this and trying to get his name out there. I wouldn't blame them if they are. But I will tell you, it's working. It's everywhere. And that is going to set up a very interesting scenario if Vizzina is not producing like everyone thinks he should produce. And you know what's going to happen. Everyone's going to start whispering, put Denson in. I had people on my channel tell me over and over in the comment section, in the live chat, I've had family members come up to me, friends, people who know that, I like to get on here and talk about Clemson. Tell me or ask me, hey, man, do you think they're going to put in Chris Denson? Oh, I heard from someone the other day that they're dying to see Chris Denson in this bowl game against Penn State. Oh, if we get struggling against South Carolina, maybe they'll put Chris Denson in. Now, here's the thing about Chris Denson. In the spring game, he came out and he actually looked good. And I know that's a glorified practice, but folks, do you realize how many people walk out onto a field, a big field like Death Valley, and though they're on the same team as the guys lined up across from them, because it's the orange and white game, you realize how many of especially the young guys, they freeze up? This guy didn't freeze up. He released the football very well. He looked very, very comfortable immediately. And then enters our third person. Now, before I talk about the third person, I'm not in the third person, but about the third person, I'm going to tell you this. I am not considering Trent Pearman. I think Pearman still on the team. Y'all forgive me for bringing that up and not looking that up. But I think he's a junior. Yeah. I think he is. Yeah, he's still on the team. I think that Trent Pearman could hit the transfer portal, which it's closed now, so. But I think that Trent Pearman could have went somewhere like Appalachian State and done very well. I feel like that he could have went to a Sunbelt school and done very well. Maybe got his stock up, you know what I'm saying? And maybe go to a decent school and lead them. You never know. I think Trent Pearman has a lot of upside. But Pearman will, and this is not a shot at him. So if anyone from the Pearman camp hears this, I swear to you, I'm not talking trash about him. In fact, I've pulled for the guy. He is not going to see any time unless we're up 75-0 and the three other quarterbacks have IVs stuck in their arms, or God forbid, all three quarterbacks or two of the three quarterbacks are severely injured, and the guy who's taking snaps either stubs his toe, gets a hangnail, or something like that, and then Trent Pearman will go in. Trent Pearman has, in my opinion, I think he has the talent to go play at a solid school somewhere, and that's my opinion. But he's not going to see significant playing time at Clemson unless some scenario presents itself like I just laid out. But now we enter a third person. And this guy's named Tate Reynolds. Now, we've been hearing about Tate Reynolds for a while. And I'm going to tell you this. No offense to Tate Reynolds, I have not been all giddy about Tate. And if anyone from his family, I know they could probably care less, wants to know why, well, I'm going to lay out the reason why here. When Clemson was incredible, they had a guy named Deshaun Watson. And they had a guy named Trevor Lawrence. And the bar was set extremely high. And since Trevor Lawrence left, and you even had guys like Chase Bryce playing backup. He could play. He was incredible. Kelly Bryant, he struggled passing against big football teams. Remember against Alabama? Struggled there. Kelly Bryant is one of those athletes who could just take over a game. You had to be careful. But if you could contain him and make him be a pocket passer, That's where he struggled. But Kelly Bryant was an incredible athlete. I've said this over and over. Of course, Taj Boyd coming into his own and winning some big games and helping turn the corner in Clemson football. I mean, I no offense to Tate, but I was looking for Clemson to go land that guy who was massive, because I believe we're at a critical place in Clemson football in the program. But Tate Reynolds was, I think he got to right out a 4-star, maybe a 4-star. It's according to which platform you were looking at, who ranks recruits. And then I think he tore his hamstring? He had some type of injury, and he basically missed, if not missed, his entire senior season of playing football. And he dropped back down to a 3-star. And folks, I'm going to tell you, I've just kind of overlooked him. And I've had a few of you, Noah told me, hey, listen, you need to know this guy is a really, really good athlete. And I said, I hope he is. I think that it's asking too much of this cat to try to get him to come in and fix what is going on right now, because there's just some really detrimental things going on at Clemson right now. We're at a very sensitive place. I don't know the words to say there, but with that said, Tate Reynolds, he signs on early signing day, and then I start to pay attention to this guy. Now, I want to go on record by saying I'm not proclaiming this guy as being the second coming of Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson. I'm not. I am not going to tell you that Tate Reynolds will ever play a snap at Clemson. I'll get into that in a second. But what I will tell you is that Tate Reynolds is one heck of an athlete. This guy comes from an athletic family. I think 2 of his cousins, maybe one of his siblings, are at the University of Utah, if my memory serves me correct. And he's a really good baseball player. His dad, I think he was a strength and conditioning coach for him. And I mean, and for the school that they were at. I'm still sorting out some of the details on some of his background. Here's what you need to know. Tate Reynolds comes from an extremely athletic family. And this guy is around what, 6'2", and a half, about 215 pounds. He looks like one of those athletes, one of those guys that if you went head to head with him and you tried to tackle him, he'd run over you and it would hurt. Now, he enters the picture. He's a baseball player. We've seen this before. Who can play football. And Clemson's had some good ones. I mean, think about, they offered Bubba Chandler. They had Will Taylor on the team. Go way back, Kyle Parker. Seems like eons ago. It has been a while, and more. But here's the deal. This guy, the more and more I pay attention to him, he looks like he could contend. Now, he didn't start playing football until he was like in high school. So there are some things that he's having to work out, he's having to get better at. But you have that type of guy who athleticism is just running all over his family. He signs with Clemson. Some people believe because he committed to Clemson so long ago that it actually hurt his overall rating in the recruiting rankings. I don't know. I do know that when Trevor Lawrence committed to Clemson, every recruiting site in the country was straining so hard they were popping hemorrhoids to make sure that Justin Fields was number 1 for some reason. I still don't know why. Have no clue about that. And we've seen a few other instances where someone would commit to Clemson and they'd be a 5-star, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I think maybe they're a 4-star. I'm looking, it's about freckle 30 on my wrist right now. Oh, yeah, they're 3-star. Dude, if they'd have signed with Alabama or Georgia, you'd been peeing all over yourself, making them a 6-star. I mean, what's the problem? Anyway, it happened. I'm sorry, it did. So some people have said that that's impacted. With all of that said, we could have a controversy coming up this season, and it's legitimate. Now, we can take everything that we know about Clemson football over the past 5 years, getting out of this disaster season all the way up to this point, and know that LSU is waiting for us for, in September for the very first game in Baton Rouge, Lane's first game. And if Vizzina walks in there, and whether it's his fault or not, meaning they're not adequately blocking for him, there's some problems on the O-line. Let's say maybe the play calling is, I think the offense is going to be better under Chad Morris, but it has been a while. Let's just say that the play calling, they're still trying to get up to snuff, and they have to get up to snuff against LSU in Baton Rouge at night with the number one transfer portal class and Lane Kiffin, who can coach his brains out, who goes above and beyond to try to humiliate anyone he possibly can. And that's your first game? If Vizzina is struggling, can you imagine, even at LSU, the whispers in the crowd? Can you imagine the very next week against Georgia Southern? And by the way, I did my way too early prediction for the Clemson 2026 football season, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you. I have called LSU as a definite loss, and I've called LSU, unless something crazy happens, as a blowout. So can you imagine the very next week when Clemson plays their first home game of the season, their second game overall, and it's Georgia Southern coming to town? Can you imagine what the fans will be they won't be whispering, they will be yelling at the coaching staff if Vizzina looks like he's not comfortable? All because Chris Stinson came in and looked good against Furman. And I'm not knocking him there. What happens if Chris comes in and he does fair? You're going to hear, listen to me, you're going to hear rumblings about Tate then. I've watched a little football in my life. I kind of know how this works, and you probably do too. There will be a quarterback controversy before you know it. Now, who wants to take the over-under of how many games in it actually does take for a quarterback change to happen if Vizzina is struggling for some reason? Now, let's talk about this. Chris Stinson can scramble. He can move very, very well. In the 90s and the 10s, I mean, the 2000s and then going into the 10s, Clemson won about 7 or 8 ball games consistently almost every year pre-Dabo Swinney. More the late 90s, give or take a season, 7 to 8 ball games per year with an athletic quarterback who was an okay passer. Now, I'm not going to say that Denson can't pass the football. I'm not saying that, but I am saying we have seen what it's like to have a quarterback go out there who can run and create some explosive plays. And, all the drunk frat guys are clapping. One of them, he's got his arm in a sling, so he's clapping on his neck. He's so drunk, he's so happy. But then they go and play football, a really good football team, and they shut that down. And now he has to be a quarterback, and it falls apart. Hence the 7 or 8 wins that Clemson used to get and then couldn't get over the hump. We'll see if that's the case with Denson. But I think this season is going to be very, very interesting. And then I'm going to end with one thing. I heard from a few different people. Someone reached out to me directly, gave me some really good intel during the whole transfer portal thing and so on. But I mean, I'm talking about like weeks ago, and started giving me intel on the transfer portal. And I never received anything from this person, and they asked me to keep them anonymous and keep their source anonymous. But almost every darn thing they said before anything was leaked, almost everything they said came true. So that's how you build rapport with someone. They told me this, and then I've read it on forums. And then Coach Swinney admitted it a couple of weeks ago. I want to say it was the press conference where they introduced Chad Morris, and then he aired out, had the airing of the grievances against Ole Miss. And he was 100% right there. But I want to say it was in that press conference he said, look, they tried to get me to take a quarterback, but I want to stick with who we have. Now, what I was going to say just a second ago, I was told and I read that conversation got quite loud. I don't know who was getting loud, but there was some friction there. And Coach Swinney said this. He said, you bring in one, you lose two. I agree with that. I counter with this. And this is just throwing this out there. Do you think Chris Denson, if he comes and he sits on the bench and Vizzina is playing, or Vizzina's playing great and Denson realized he's not going to get a chance, with everybody praising him and talking about, hey, man, we haven't seen the team look so explosive since you walked down onto the field against Furman. He'll transfer. Tate Reynolds is a really good athlete. As I said, he has family at other schools right now. I think one of them's Utah, maybe two family members that playing at Utah right now. Do you think that he flew all the way to South Carolina to just sit here and enjoy the Blue Ridge Mountains? No, he didn't. They'll transfer too. He'll transfer too. Maybe he gets homesick. Maybe he sees his family members getting playing time and he's not. I don't know. Definitely a quarterback controversy here. Going to get in here and say hello to a lot of people. Big John, good to see you, my man. Are you making up a controversy, young man? Have mercy. I hope you're having a great week. You never know what I'm going to do. There is not an experienced enough on the field quarterback to have a controversy. Grumpy Clemson, good to see you, man. Roger Parks, good to see you. All in here. Big John, Roger Parks. They support the channel on a monthly basis. Thank y'all so much. Good to see you. Thomas Nolte, what's up, buddy? Joe Hughes, good to see you in here. Stephen Dixon, if I haven't said that already, love me some good news, please. Yeah, I hope so. Denson, Reynolds, and Bradley CV is not the answer. A lot of people are wondering. Let me see. Grafnar, longtime supporter, longtime friend of the show. Good to see you in here, my man. Thumbs up, people. I'm probably going to miss someone. Y'all please forgive me. Interested to see how this develops. My head tells me it will be CV to start, but I'm not sure if it will be that way by the end of the season. I agree with you 100%, my man. 100%. He will be starting, barring injury, and God forbid that. But I'm with you. Probably overlooking some people in here. Y'all forgive me. Carl Boykins, if I haven't said his name already. A.K. Lucas is in here. Billy Pilgrim. The problem is Dabo sticks with the same quarterback really gives another a chance. Clemson went from elite to dangerous to average to below average currently. Good to see you, Jack, in here. Agree with what has been said. Tate Reynolds will not be ready probably the whole season. Has been no true quarterback coach for development, even going back to Trevor. A lot of people tell us about that. A lot of people tell us about that. Stephen P's in here. Clemson will miss a bowl game in 2026. I think you can go watch my preview, my way too early preview. I think they'll make it to a bowl game. Notice I didn't say a good one. See you, my man. Mike Roberts says Denson might beat Vizzina out this spring and summer. He might do it, but I'm telling you, Mike, Dabo's going to give it to Vizzina because Vizzina's been there longer. It's good to see you in here. Dwight Hedden says, listen, I hope you have to eat your words, but I do understand the question. Yep. You know. You smell what the Rock is cooking. It's a good question. If Vizzina comes in and gets dispatched to 10 wins, what do you think happens for the future of Clemson? It would be a shock because there's two games that are a definite loss for me, Miami and LSU. And there's a bunch of toss-up games. There is a bunch of toss-up games. Clemson could have a 6-6 season this year. Clemson could have an 8-4 season this year. But if he were to somehow get them to 10 wins, he might actually be up for the Heisman Trophy. It would be that drastic, in my opinion. Ernest Baker. It's a good question. A good question there. Ernest Baker, what's up, dude? Taco Game in 75. Brian, I finally caught you live again. Good to see you, my man. Glad you did. I want to end with this question. Gavin Bearden. Why should we expect better quarterback play this year? What has the past 5 years told us about Clemson's ability to develop a quarterback? That's a great question. Now, let's hand it to Chad Morris. I think our offense will be better. I think that Chad Morris may be in a place to where he's maybe got a chip on his shoulder. He realizes there's a lot of people who question the hire. And maybe he brings out all the stops. Maybe so. I think that Chad Morris can help the quarterback. I really, really do. At the same time, help the quarterback. That may not necessarily be Vizzina. It may not be Denson. I mean, I don't know. But you know me. I mean, at this point, Clemson has no expectation this season. And maybe that's a good place for them. I don't know. We'll see. All right, folks, if you love talking Clemson football, I do hope you'll subscribe. Remember, it is free. Pass this along. Let me know. Do you see it? I see it. This is not like we're stretching here. It's not like, oh, you know what? If Chad Morris comes in, he absolutely just cranks it up. We're going to make it to the college football playoff. That's a stretch. I would not say that on a stack. I would not swear on that with a stack of monk-written Bibles. I'm telling you right now, that's a stretch. I just don't see this being a stretch. Let me know what you think. Who will be the starting quarterback at the middle or end of the season? Do you think Vizzina comes in and proves all of us wrong? Do you think that Chad Morris is going to scheme to his abilities? Do you think that the offensive line will be any better and it will give whoever is back there a chance? Or will they have to go with someone who can truly move, like fluidly move, just to create something because the offensive line is struggling? Y'all let me know in the comments section, and I really do appreciate it. Y'all take care.